The following episode is part of the Pop Culture Cult Network.
Good evening, cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
This is the audio-only edition of the Pop Culture Cult. If you're watching us on YouTube, we are doing it audio-only because we want to see how it works out. And we're tired from the weekend.
And then you don't have to look at us. Because nobody wants to do that.
Really, I didn't want to put pants on today, is what it came down to.
Right.
But we're going to do what we're going to do this week is not a ton of news. Men in Black International made $28 million, which was ahead of estimates.
Huh.
There's a new crime drama with David Tennant coming to Netflix.
Cool.
There's a prequel book for Hunger Games coming. It's like 60 plus years in the future, or in the past.
Wonder if it's, well, no.
Setting up of the districts.
Because that was the 100th?
The 74th Hunger Games.
Okay, so
the 75th Hunger Games is when all the champions.
Right, okay. I was
stuff.
thinking that was 100, so 75th. So right after the Hunger Games have started.
Yeah. Could be interesting. But what we really want to talk about this week is the weekend that was Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con.
Right.
First time going, we got media passes. We actually applied for passes the Saturday of Phoenix Fan Fusion on the let's just see what happens. And then we got passes. And so then we had to scramble and find a room.
Right. So next year, we know, because we had to scramble to find a room. We didn't get our normal awesome deal. It was still a good deal.
It was still a good deal.
We got upgraded for free. That was good.
That was nice, but I don't think it was on purpose on upgrade. But
nope, but your mistake is our win.
Yep. We stayed at the Harrah's Las Vegas Casino. We've stayed there before. Harrah's is not our favorite property to stay at, but the reason we stayed there is because there's a tram stop at the back. And we could stay at the room and then go back and get on the tram. And then the tram stops right in front of the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Right.
That is its own planet.
Right. It is a city. It's a city size.
It's a city.
And it's getting bigger. They're adding on.
Yeah, they're adding, what did they say? 1.6 million square feet?
Yeah, it's something like that. Obnoxious. Yeah. It was already giant. There were two conventions going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And the floor that AMAZINGCOMICCON was using, they still had room. And then they weren't even using we were in the north building, they weren't even using the south building until Sunday when they had a SEMA exhibitors convention summit. Summit is what they called it. Yeah.
Getting ready for that. So this was the first year going up, and we're going to be really honest. The reason we went, other than we got media passes, was the idea that this was the last signing and last appearance of George Perez, who was the artist on the Infinity Gauntlet series and a ton of everything else for Marvel and DC and everything else.
Yeah, he was a in-house artist, I guess. So he was he did stuff on a lot of comic books.
And they made a point of bringing the entire creative team together. So it was George Perez, Jim Starling, Don Lim, and Joe Rubenstein.
Right.
And all of them were there, and they were all doing signings, and they did one big mass signing on Saturday. And Janice and I talked about it at Phoenix, that we thought that, maybe it might be worth doing a little bit of investment comics. It was more of a kind of a backhanded comment, but as we talked about it more and more, we kind of realized that if we find something that made sense. And so on Sunday at Phoenix Fan Fusion, we went by Brandon's Comics.
Yep.
And got to speak to Brandon for a little while, and he was having a I don't want to take it home, so buy it off the shelf for half price sale.
Make me buy it.
Make me buy it. And they had an Infinity Gauntlet that was half price, and so I'm like, well, guess what? I'm buying the Infinity Gauntlet, and the creative crew is going to be at Amazing Las Vegas, so let's see if we can go. And we went. And let's talk about the con itself.
Okay.
We only have Phoenix and Ace as reference points. Now, Phoenix Fan Fusion is about all the fandoms. It's a fan fusion, right? You're fusing all of the fandoms together
right.
and making them play nice with each other. Kinda. And it typically is very voice actor heavy, and then they have some celebrity guests come in and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of smaller panels from fans doing different kind of things and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's a very large convention.
Yes.
Spanning over 2 buildings and 4 days and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Ace on that matter is very small location wise. It's only 2 days, but it's all celebrity guest driven.
Yes.
And they bring top end heavy hitter. The one in Portland, I think that's coming up is it's got Chris Evans. Chris Evans doesn't go any cons. We had Michael Fassbender and David Tennant and Ty Sheridan, and some really big heavy hitters come for Ace Comic.
Yeah, but they only do one panel at a time, right? So Phoenix, you can have there's multiple times actually where you are trying to make a decision between one fairly big name and another fairly big name.
Not including any of the smaller panels you want to go to.
Right. So Ace is one panel at a time. So you're either doing that, going to photo ops or signature ops or the merchants. But the way we kind of talked about it after we went, the way it's set up, because it's set up in the hockey arena, the merchants are in the ring, kind of going
on the concourse,
where the concession stands are. And it was weird. The artist alley was on the first floor, and then the second floor is all suites, and so it's kind of hard for them to have set up there. So then they were up on the third floor concourse, and I don't really think that anybody knew that they were up there, and there was just not a lot of traffic up there every time we went up there.
Got some good deals.
Yeah, but I felt bad, for the people that spent money to go.
So Amazing is a comic book convention. It is a comic convention. It is a let's bring in creators, let's bring in artists, that kind of stuff. Let's bring in more comic book shops than you probably really think there should be on the floor at one time.
So there was maybe 5 t-shirt vendors, and some of them, they were all pretty small.
Yeah.
And some of them were like, we have all this stuff, and we've got a couple t-shirts over here on the side.
Yeah.
Where you go to Fan Fusion, and they have the tower of t-shirts. It takes up 4 spaces.
Right. It was it was refreshing to go to something different and get a different perspective on how the comic convention circuit is. Now we were going to try to do San Diego this year, but that's its own thing. It's its own monster.
Right. That is a city.
It's a city, and it's all about promoting of the
movies and the studios and
TV and stuff like that and all that. So Amazing is very comic creator based. We talked about the Infinity Gauntlet people were there. Kevin Eastman was there. Jerry Conway was there. Rob Liefeld was there. I really wanted to do a Rob Liefeld signing, but I spent my money on the Infinity Gauntlet stuff.
And time.
And time. And time. We'll
No
get into that
time.
in a minute. And the convention floor itself is fairly small. I reference is kind of a little hard for us because of the mass that is Phoenix, but then Ace is in a hockey arena and spread out.
It's hard to tell. Yeah. I think the floor was smallish. I mean, there was what 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 aisles.
Yeah, it kind of
aisles?
feels like the Hall of Heroes upstairs.
Yes,
like kind of that kind of
without all the signing and photo ops.
Right.
I mean, that was there too, but and the signing stuff was awesome because you just walk up.
Yeah. You didn't prepay. You didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were. Was it Perez? You actually had to get in line to get a ticket to get in line later.
Yeah.
But that was because, I mean, he was a hot commodity. Everybody wanted,
and especially since it was his last time.
His last one, yeah. So that was a big deal. And they were free. That was the other thing with Perez too, is that they were free. Oh, okay, right. And everybody else was like $10. You know, friggin' Jeff Goldblum was what, 120 or 140 this year?
Yeah, for signing.
And they were like $10, and you just go stand in line, and everybody was like super chill and
very laid back.
Yeah, like spending time talking to everybody, and you could take a selfie, and it was free, and there wasn't all that, like, even the security people were just like, cursory look in your bag, and everybody was having fun and being nice, and it was.
And the volunteers were really like really well versed in what they needed to know.
As much as they could be, sometimes
the lines for like Starlin were a little crazy, but the volunteers were there, did a really good job of keeping the line organized, and everybody was really relaxed and making it. You get those few people who are just complete douchebags, but but for the most part, it was really. I just liked how everything was in one spot. The big panel area was out on the floor too. The signings were right there nearby.
Yep. You didn't have to go to another room or get a map and try to figure out where you're going.
They did have a panel room upstairs for some of the other panels.
Yeah.
And we never really made it up there. But it was kind of cool. Everybody was in one room, and it was very relaxed and chill. Tight at times. The aisles are very tight. But the layout seemed pretty good.
And they could. I'm not real sure why they don't. But we went around the corner. We spent a lot of time at the coffee booth. We spent a lot of time at the coffee booth, and
more than we probably should have.
Probably, but when you go around the corner to where it was kind of like all the charity stuff.
The cosplay
groups, but they all seem to be charities, which was fine. But 501st was back there, and
Critical
Care Comics, and and there was a whole nother section that kind of mirrored the section we were in back behind that. So they've got room to expand
if they want to do that and stuff. Let's talk about the signing that actually happened. The con did a really good job of bringing everybody in and doing some pre-set up stuff. They had you could buy in to a specific signing of the 4 creators of the Infinity Gauntlet and a fan experience, and they did a dinner with Perez, and a lot of that stuff sold out before we even had a chance to get in for it. I did buy a Las Vegas Comic-Con exclusive package, thinking that I was going to be able to sneak into that signing that was Saturday morning, but that didn't work out. So I had to do the individual one by one signing all day. We got tickets to do the Perez thing because we got media passes. We got in at 9:30 and doors officially opened at 10, and I was able to get in line right at 10 and get a ticket and for the 2:30 signing. And so we knew we had some time, and so we went and sat in the Jim Starlin line.
Right.
And met some new friends and got to know some young couple that were doing Spider-Man and Venom, and she was Venom, and very good artist. And then our friends from Dark Phoenix Comics ended up in line behind us, and so we spent about 2 hours talking with them and stuff. And then they came back and said the 11 a.m. signing is not going to happen because now it's 12:30 and he has a panel at 1.
Yeah, well, it was 12. It was almost 12. And he had a photo op thing from 12 to 1.
Right.
And the panel from 1 to 2. So we had to come back at 2:30. Except he also had a thing.
The Perez signing was at 2:30.
2:30. So now our schedule's gotten complicated.
It's gotten complicated. So I wandered over for the Perez panel, or the Perez signing, George Perez signing. Right after the panel, we'll talk about that panel in a minute. But they says, okay, the signing's at 2:30. He's here now. It's 2:05. We're going to open up the doors. And went up, and I'm not going to say I may have helped out some comic book dealers get some signings, because you're only allowed 5 signing pieces from Perez. And so went up, got the signature, was really cool. Well, while that was all happening, Janice ran over and got in the Jim Starlin line. And our friends from Dark Phoenix Comics held our place in line for us. So we were like third in line there. So we went from, oh my God, we're waiting to everything's happening right now.
Yeah.
And we were waiting for Jim Starlin to start. And Don Lim was sitting at the table next to him, and he had nobody in line. So I just walked over and says, "Can I sign this?"
But it wasn't quite that easy, because you were also getting it rated. So every time, if you've never had a comic book graded before, you have to have a witness, and it gets, the first time, I guess, it gets signed, and the witness signs that they witnessed it, and then they put it in a sealed bag, and then you take it to the next place, and then you have to get a witness, and they come back over, and they open up the sealed bag, and they sign that they witnessed it being signed, and then they put it in another sealed bag.
And then you go 2 steps to your left.
So on and so on until you're all done.
And so it was, we got Perez, and like 10 minutes later, we got Don Lim, and then we got Jim Starlin right next to him, like 5 minutes later. And then we walked over, and Rubenstein was sitting there, and there was like one person in line in front of him. And the guy from, is it CGC Comics that does the grading and stuff like that, we were doing all that stuff with, walked up behind me, and I'm like, "Are you here for Rubenstein?" He's like, "I am." I'm like, "Can you watch my stuff for me?" He's like, "Yes, that's why I'm here." Perfect. So we went from waiting to everything got signed within like
an hour.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Between 2 and 3, we got everything signed.
And it was. I wish the communication about how that all would have worked was better. I don't know how really they could have done it better with the convention, and because they just kind of like the creators are just sitting at their tables, and whenever you want to walk by.
Yeah, and that, I mean, they had panels and a few of them had photo ops, right? I don't think Don Lim and Rubenstein had the photo op because they're just not as well known.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of hanging out all day. So that was cool. You could kind of go by there whenever they would happen to be sitting there. But yeah, it was kind of broken up. It wasn't like they were just sitting there. And then Perez was up in the actual autograph area.
Yeah.
And then everybody else was sitting at tables.
Yeah.
And so luckily, I mean, it's not a huge convention floor, so you can kind of figure out where they are, and even if they're not sitting there, you know where to come back to later.
And I'm really glad they did it that way too, because then you're not tripping over. Everybody's not in one little area with lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, although it got a little interesting because they were in a major thoroughfare. here.
Right.
And so,
right.
and then there was multiple lines going at the same time. And so they were trying to figure out, who are you here to get a signature for
So they
versus who
had
you're...
Lim and Starlin at one booth, and then they had the CSC guys trying to get all their stuff going. And then the next booth over was Kevin Eastman, who was the co-creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So that whole area was just proper fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like if you walked, and that was right next to the front door too. So if
Yeah.
you walked in so then if you went down the other aisle, Rob Liefeld was on that other
aisle.
So
yeah. It was that whole corner.
There were some times where it was like, nope.
And there's only one way in and there's only one way out.
Yeah.
Right. So, where like Phoenix, kind of once you've gotten through security, you're free to wander around the
Right.
entire facility, where here you're really only in one room.
One room.
Yeah.
The panel for the Infinity Gauntlet folks was a lot of fun.
It was.
Koi Jandro from Collider Heroes was the moderator. I'm really glad that they have moderators. Collider is the official media the distributors, I guess, of Amazing.
Yeah.
And having them actually control and kind of get away from the fan questions as much as possible. They still did some fan questions with this foam cube microphone,
right.
Throw at the audience thing. I'm sure there's a lawsuit around here somewhere.
I don't know. I thought it was amazing.
It was amazing. But their panel was so much fun, and just talking about their creative process and the comic book industry and how it sits now and how it was maybe better then, but how is it cool now?
Yeah, and then the questions from the audience, that can tend to be sticky,
Right.
weird. Like, we a lot of times will bail once the audience questions start, because they just, they get up there and they're like, I really like you a lot, and you're my ask your question, please. And then they're like, what was your favorite episode? Really?
You waited in 45 minutes of line, paid hundreds of dollars for this.
Yeah. and these were good, thoughtful, insightful questions.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
It was a lot of fun to see them all together, and you could tell that they, do the con circuit together. They have a good rapport with each other.
Yeah.
And Rubenstein was just so funny because he's, Jersey.
He gives
snarky.
0 bucks.
He's just like, yeah, this is whatever.
Yep. This is my life.
So that part was all awesome. They had Sean Astin come in. Now, we've seen Sean Astin recently here in Phoenix, and he was actually a replacement for Alan Tudyk, who is doing a play right now, and I think it's off Broadway. It might be off Broadway. But he was going to come, and he had to unfortunately cancel, and so their replacement was Sean Astin. And Sean was
apparently brought his family for a family vacation in Vegas while they were there, because his daughter and his son, he introduced his daughter, who was the little girl in Lord of the Rings in the very last scene, and his son, who is a football player at Harvard. He made sure
at Harvard.
And his wife was there somewhere. I didn't see her, but yeah, it was like a family vacation.
It was awesome, and like some of the photos I saw that was posted online, I was like, they were having a good time together.
Yeah,
they went to Disneyland like a couple days before, and then they came up to Vegas and did the Vegas thing and stuff.
Cool.
But his panel, we had seen his panel in Phoenix, and it was really, really good. This one was better.
Yeah,
he was
Perry Nemiroff from Collider was the moderator, and so she was asking some good questions and is knowledgeable in movies, so could keep up with, actually knew some stuff about some movie stuff that he didn't.
Right,
he's like, I'm just an actor, I don't know this stuff.
Right. But the big story there was he was on track to be a director for Fantastic Four.
At 24, fresh off of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he went in and did the spiel and told them where he thought the direction of the should go. And they had a very long, serious conversation, and then they ended up going with somebody else. Now, this was have been the original,
the Chris Evans
one.
Yeah.
And so I found that really interesting that he told that story, because I've never heard that story before. And from him, like his point of view and like how he understood why they picked somebody else and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool, fun like panel. And so like we've got the signing, we got 2 really good panels. We're in Vegas, we did all that stuff. Sunday we went over and stood in line for Daniel Logan. We've been interacting with him on Instagram for a while now, and we walked over and talked to him for about 15 minutes. The line wasn't super long, and so he spent some time talking. We didn't buy anything. We didn't take any photos or anything like that.
Again, that's kind of the shows the laid backness. Is that a word?
We'll go with
laid backness of the convention. Was that there was like 3 other people in front of us, and I'm like, let's just go jump in line and say, hey, we just wanted to shake hands, whatever. If he didn't spend a ton of time with us, that was cool. We weren't buying anything and there was a couple people behind us, so we didn't feel like we were super, backing up the line or anything. And he actually spent probably 10 minutes talking to us.
I got a really cool photo I posted on Instagram of Sean and Daniel's interaction.
They were sitting next to each other.
Talking about the fight and stuff. It was really cool. One last thing we want to talk about with this convention was we went to the after party on Saturday. We've got 4 minutes.
Talk fast.
You know what? I'm going to do this. We're going to go to break. And then we're going to come back, because I want to talk about this party for more than like 3 minutes.
Okay.
And what's going on there. So we'll be right back.
Hello, cult members. Like what you've heard on this podcast? Then please subscribe and follow us here. You can also find us on Facebook at the Pop Culture Cult. We're on Instagram at PopCultureCult1. And we're on Twitter at Pop_Cult1. We're also on YouTube at Pop Culture Cult and on the Stardust app under Pop Culture Cult. Please help us by liking, following, and subscribing to everything we have. This helps us build a bigger and better cult of pop culture.
And we're back. Because we're doing the audio-only version tonight, we have the Ridley Scott Robin Hood going on in the background.
Right, it's motivation.
It's we're distracted by the battle at the cliffs of Dover. That's actually
the French get their asses kicked.
This is actually why we went to commercials.
Sorry if you're from France. I didn't mean that in a bad way.
They get their asses kicked by some.
It was a long time
orphans ago. And a few archers and anyways. So let's we're still talking about Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con and what we wanted to do though was we wanted to kind of spotlight a little bit of the after party that we went to.
Yep. So it was put on by Critical Care Comics. It was a fundraiser, right?
Yeah.
To raise. So they had an auction going all night, and then a raffle. Yeah, raffle. And then in conjunction with the Millennium Fan Bar, I guess they rented out the Millennium. I don't know. They booked the Millennium Fan Bar.
Millennium sponsored it.
There's a con going on, and there's a bar called the Millennium Fandom Bar. Everybody from the con is going to that bar.
Right.
So they really probably didn't need to rent it out.
It was Millennium Fandom Bars. We've been following them a little while on Instagram and stuff, and it is a fandom bar. They have theme nights. They have Doctor Who nights and Lord of the Rings nights, and
I want that bar here.
That bar needs to be here. Actually, Sunday they did Picard Day.
Yeah.
So they did all kinds of. So we walk into this place. It's like in an office building.
Yeah.
And you walk in, and it's like this. Like they built it as like the Addams Family like.
It's really weird. Because
it's cool, but it's weird.
It's like you said, it's in like an office building. Like it's not really a strip mall because there's multiple stories, but it's like one of those kind of low-rise office buildings, right? Like three stories tall or whatever. So the inside could technically be square, except it's not.
Right.
It is the weirdest. There's like you walk down a hallway, and then there's a gigantic room off to the side
with purple walls
and like a dance floor. I think there was like supposed to be, you could put a DJ in there or whatever. And
there was a DJ in the booth behind the table,
but that was over on the other side, not in that big room. And then you have to walk around. It was almost like it was in a house. Like I almost felt like I was in England again.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Really weird old bar that they had to retrofit a kitchen and a bathroom, indoor bathroom into, right? And yeah, there was, I don't know why they did it like there. When you walk up to the bar, it gets really narrow. Yeah. There's a lot of furniture, and, like couches, it was really cool.
It was really cool. The auxiliary room had a projection going on the big wall, but that's where they were taking all the photos. It was the back corner, and they just having everybody go in there and take photos.
So they probably show movies or TV shows, like Picard Day. They probably showed Star Trek Generations. Yeah.
But the party itself, the bar is amazing, and there's all kinds of stuff on the walls. And the big thing that got me was the 4 stones from Fifth Element.
Right. Yeah. And there's a Hedwig from Harry Potter,
like hanging from one of the chandeliers.
Yeah.
And there's a Millennium Falcon. Imagine that. It's the actual solo edition with the escape craft on the front. It's not the one from A New Hope. That's the classic design.
Oh, I didn't look at it that close.
Okay, I did.
Of course,
there's a TARDIS in the corner.
Yes.
And there's and then the auxiliary room has a whole bunch of fan art up on the walls that you could buy. And they had this giant Stanley memorial paid wall where you go right on it.
Yeah, like a dry erase board or whatever everybody could write on.
The crowd was almost all in cosplay.
Yeah.
I don't even know if all of them were actually at the con. I think they just showed up to the party in cosplay.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
very diverse, like everybody was there. Everybody was having a good time. Everybody, like, I was telling somebody, I was like, a bunch of people that I wouldn't normally, like you go to a country bar and it's full of, country people, or you go to a rock bar and it's full of rock, EDM or whatever. And this was like just everybody. Everybody was all there and having a good time. And so the DJ had to actually kind of mix it up because he had to, appeal to all the different tastes. But the entire bar, about midnight-ish, I think. I don't know. I lost track of time. I might have had a really good time. Played. No, not Backstreet. He did play that. NSYNC. I Want It That Way. And the entire bar was singing. It was a giant bar karaoke.
And everybody was dancing to it at the same time.
Yeah.
And everybody was singing. And just everybody singing and dancing in cosplay was so much fun.
And then Fisk, Daredevil without the suit, so in the black outfit with just the cloth thing over his face and the ropes around his hand, and Daredevil in the suit, all dancing in front of us. And I every time, because we got a video and it keeps popping up on my Facebook feed, and every time I see it, I giggle because it's funny.
It's funny. It's so funny. And everybody was super friendly too.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple sitting next to us on the couch, and she was saying it's like this every night when they do stuff.
Yeah.
She was dressed up as Celine from Underworld. And she's like, yeah, everybody dresses up almost every time when there's a party on the weekends, and everybody's super friendly, and we'd like talk to a bunch of different people, and even though it was loud, it was still it was loud, but you could still talk to each other.
Yeah, you could still hear.
We went outside just to kind of get away from the masses for a minute, and it's Nevada, it's Vegas, and so marijuana is legal, and so they're passing it around and like toke pass. All right, well, okay, that's cool. I didn't win. I'm very bitter. Didn't win anything in the raffle. Sons of bitches.
He even went to their booth on Sunday and said, "I didn't win anything. I'm very upset."
I call shenanigans. But that, the friendliness of the con, the level of the panels, like the quality of the panels. I won't say level of the panels. The quality of the panels, the ability to get signatures fairly easy without any big deal,
and not having to break the bank to do it.
Right? Yeah. To have good comic vendors. There was a lot of comics. I actually bought a comic. It was a JLA crossover with Marvel, and the cover was Superman all torn up, holding Mjolnir and Captain America's shield, and it was drawn by Perez. And so I got that one signed and rated 2. And I had no intention of buying a comic when I was up there, and I got talking to a vendor, and the guy was like, if I was getting Perez to sign something, I'd go to that guy's booth over there and get this. So it wasn't even like his booth. He sent me to another booth to go get this comic.
I was overlooking at bootleg movies while he was doing that. So
yeah.
I have no idea what happened.
It might have been some bootleg movies that we probably should have bought when we were there, but whatever. But just the whole experience, and then it's Vegas, and we go several times a year, so we get to see Mickey, our bartender, and just the being able to do kind of some of the Vegas stuff. It was an easy drive up and an easy drive back. It was really hot, like it was really awesome. Yeah,
it was like the perfect amount of time, and we like to do a lot more in Vegas, but we're gonna do that later. So
we'll be there in a few weeks, but for
it was a perfect weekend.
Yeah,
it was like I feel like I packed a lot into my weekend.
Yeah,
like some weekends you just sit around and do nothing all weekend, and then you're like, what did I do all weekend? I didn't do anything, but I feel like we did a lot. We packed a lot.
We did a lot this weekend, and a lot of it is we were able to buy 24-hour tram passes so we could drive out, get on the tram and whatever, and we did take the lift over to the Arts District for Millennium Kingdom.
Yeah, because you can't. There's no tram that goes over there.
And the cabs are kind of expensive. And so, but I just overall, we're already talking about how we can go back next year.
I mean, totally. I think when it gets closer, we should just book a room because we can cancel it and they'll just give us our deposit back. Right. So we just book a room and then try for the passes again.
Yeah. And as much as we, now that we know it's much more comic creator based. COMICBAT.
Move along.
Knowing that it's the comic book, much more the comic book base, we can maybe have a little bit more of a plan of like wanting to do something along that line or whatever. I mean, it's
the cosplay is all comic book based.
Yeah,
there was no Harry Potter. There was some Disney princesses. They were part of one of the charity things, I think. So that's not really comic book, but I mean, it was all
mostly comic book.
It was all Deadpool, Spider-Man,
other than the 501st. The 501st, they had their little corner.
One of the charity kind of groups. So
and very family friendly and stuff. So we are definitely going to go back to that. Definitely worth all of the time and the money we spent going up there for a quick 3-day weekend.
Yep.
So that is our thoughts, and that is the show this week. We talked about if there's something that comes up this week, maybe we'll jump on and do another quick video podcast thing, blah, blah, blah. We would ask that you follow, subscribe on whatever you're listening to, if that's the podcast feed, if that is the YouTube feed. Please follow us on all of our social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, and all that kind of jazz. And help us out on Patreon. We are working for a Patreon goal right now, and we're looking to upgrade some equipment so we don't sound so bad. And it's the future. We have to move to the future. And so please help us out by signing up for Patreon. You can sign up for you heard me, $1 a month. And so my mouse has decided to stop working. This is what happens when you drop it like 6 times. Help us out on Patreon. I need a new mouse. All right. That's the show. Good night, cult members.